Hello everybody, welcome back. Today we're looking at a new Bible from Thomas Nelson. This is the New King James Ultra Thinline Bible and Value Ultra Thinline Bible. They just came out with these and I'm doing a video on both of them at once because they're really close to being the same Bible with just a few minor differences. So I figured people won't watch the same video twice. So they're going to be kind of a duo review here. First one here is the black leather soft, and this is the Ultra Thinline Bible. I do apologize because I'll probably get these confused in talking about them as we go along in this review, but bear with me. And the second one here is the charcoal leather soft in the Value Ultra Thinline Bible. So these are basically the same Bible with different price points and a couple different feature changes. So the boxes sort of reflect the price difference. The Ultra Thinline is around $30 and the Value is around $19 to $20 depending on where you get it. So they're both in a very affordable range, but they do have about a $10 difference. The Ultra has a slipcase from the top, and then the Value has a thinner slipcase from the side, so less materials. And these are for the sake of reference, the front and the back. So the differences between these on the exterior are the Value Thinline, this one, does not have perimeter stitching and does not have art gilding. The Ultra Thinline has perimeter stitching, art gilding, and the spines are slightly different. The Value does not have the cross, and it only has 2 lines instead of 3. And then the front, you can see, has a different type of cross on it, and it's gold embossed where the Ultra Thinline is stamped. So those are the primary differences on the exterior. Another thing I did notice, kind of random, was that the ribbons are not the same. The Value has a ribbon that's just over 3/4 inch, and the Ultra Thinline has a true 3/4 inch, or 3/8 inch, sorry. So thought that was interesting. Sizes of these Bibles are really what makes this stand out. So the dimensions on the footprint are pretty much the same as your average Thinline, 5.5 inches wide by 8.5 inches tall. The thickness is where we really start to see the Value and the Ultra in this edition. So the thickness is 3/4 inch at the spine with the cover. The block is obviously a little bit thinner than that. So these really make for thin Bibles. You can see both of these together really don't make even a larger size Bible. These are still within the confines of a mid-size Bible put together. So let's look at the interior of these. These are basically the same, so I'm going to be focusing on the Ultra Thinline, but I will reference the Value as needed because there are a couple differences, but primarily they're the same. So inside, it's a pretty traditional Thomas Nelson page. End page doubles as your presentation page. Then you get right into Bible paper. Copyright info. This is a 2024 publication, and these are printed in India. And with other India editions, I did notice overcast stitching in the back of the Bible, but not in the front. So if it is in the front, it's really deep and I can't see it. We have a table of contents, abbreviations, preface to the New King James Version, and right into the Old Testament. These don't lay quite flat right out of the box. I haven't broken these in too much yet, but I think they will after a while. They're very thin, so there's not really much cover weight pulling that over. So that's why they're a little bit tighter. But look at this text. So you have a 3/4 inch Bible, but really it's not much different than what you've come to expect from a Thinline Bible, because this is a 8-point New King James comfort print from 2K Denmark, one of my favorite comfort prints. It is line matched, 30 GSM paper, and these editions in the New King James are paragraph format and 2-column. There are no accent colors, and you can see even with this paper, it's not ghosting too bad, which is very impressive for such a small Bible. There are no cross-references or textual footnotes. They have all been taken out to conserve space. Something I will point out that is not surprising with a Bible like this that is trying to conserve the pages and space used is books of the Bible start right after the last one without opening on a new page. So I don't know how much space this actually conserves over time, but I'm sure after you've done the whole Bible that way, you've avoided using probably 10 or more pages. So that's one way to conserve space. Poetic settings are verse by verse, which is typical of paragraph style Bibles. And there you can see here again, ghosting is not too bad despite the size. And then in the New Testament, these are red letter. It's not the most consistent red letter, which is pretty unfortunate, but it is also very common. Red letter's hard to get perfect every time, so they're a little bit variant amongst the pages, but it's not too bad. And you can see here, verse numbers are still black. So I don't know of actually any Bibles that have the verse numbers as red, but I'm pretty sure I've seen that somewhere, which is why occasionally I will mention that. These are not so. At the end of Revelation, there are 7 pages of dotted note paper, and then note on the text, then your 8 Thomas Nelson maps, and then you get right to the end. These do have the ISBNs stamped on the back, but there you have it. That is a very thin line, the ultra thin line from Thomas Nelson. Now the value, pretty much the same. There's no page die. You still have the note paper on these ones, and then you still have red letter. And honestly, I personally have come to like these value thin lines on multiple different publishers more than the thin lines that have the gilding. I just like the ruggedness of these, not to mention that they are a little bit cheaper, but they do sort of offer something that's not quite so delicate and something that you're worried about damaging. The gilding on these usually damages pretty easily, and these you can feel like you can just use and really dig into and just read. So I really like these. A couple quick comparisons. This is the Thinline Reference Bible from Thomas Nelson, also in the New King James, just to show kind of what your average thin lines look like and then how much thinner these actually are. So here is the Thinline Reference, and it is a true 1 inch, might be even a little bit over 1 inch, but you can still see that it's an 8.5 by 5.5. So Thinline is more reference to the thickness, not so much the size. Most thin lines are that 5 by 8. But you can see that the text of these is very similar. They both have an 8 point, I believe, but you can see that with the references, obviously, they don't come all the way down with the text, whereas in the ultra thin lines, they come down all the way to the bottom where the footnotes and cross-references in the reference Bible are. So they conserved a lot of space that way, and these ones don't begin books on new pages, so they did a lot of saving there. The other one here is just the ESV thin line, which again is an inch thick on the spine, and you can see it's just a little bit bigger. Now this one here is actually originally was a value ESV thin line, so the pages are not dyed, and you can see it's that basic look. Again, this is an 8-point font as well, but you can see how it's not really, the space is not maximized. There's more leading in the lines, there's more space, and the paper's probably about the same, but you can see that there's a lot more space just in the text on this ESV than there is in the value ultra. So there you have it, the New King James Ultra Thinline Bible and the Value Ultra Thinline Bible from Thomas Nelson. These ones are really cool. I really like the way that these turned out. I am a very big fan of small Bibles, but I'm kind of to the point where I don't like super small print, even though I use it sometimes. I like this mid-size, but these are going to be great travel Bibles. I would really highly recommend these as a youth ministry, youth group type Bible. I know a lot of people for youth ministry buy either hardbacks or soft covers, and I understand it. It's cheap, but really sometimes it's really important to have a Bible that is very appealing but not intimidating. And some of those soft covers and hardbacks can be very intimidating because some of them are bigger, and other times they just don't look like something you'd want to read. These look very fashionable, but at the same time, they are very simplistic. They're thin, so they're not intimidating. They're not a huge block of literature that you're trying to impress on people. These are very manageable, but they have the entire Word of God in a very readable format that is just really classic and I think really appealing. So hopefully these become very popular. I think they are a very good line of Bible from Thomas Nelson, and I highly recommend them.